Hey guys, welcome to Friday. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. How you guys doing? We made it to July. We made it to July, okay, apparently. My wife is home, so if you hear the dogs upstairs barking, they're going crazy. She's home. How's everybody doing? Those in America, I hope you had a good 4th of July. I'm feeling a little bit fuzzy, feeling a little bit frosty. Been working on getting my book done. I'm going to do a book update just in a moment. It is almost done. So I hope you guys are doing well. Anybody new here, just know that if you have never been here before, post up your questions. I do this every Friday. I am here to answer your questions. There are no dumb questions, no stupid questions, no questions that have been asked a million times before. Feel free to post up your questions. I'm here to help. Here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I've been doing this, I don't know, forever. Probably at least 5 hours, 5 years, whatever time, whatever I'm talking about. I'm just babbling. I'm a little bit confused because we were up a little bit late watching a movie last night. So I want to do a book update, and I also want to talk about the training app, how that is going. Before I get into those things, if you guys are tuning in late, you can head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman. Slide into my DM. You can post your questions at any time. I answer every question on Instagram DM, so don't hesitate to go over there. And if your questions don't go through, that's not me censoring you. That's not me throttling you. YouTube can be very good at filtering things for random reasons. So if your question is too long, try shortening it. If your question doesn't go through, try rewording it. Sometimes YouTube can have trigger words. All right, let's get into things. I'm going to get into the questions shortly. A book update. Initially, I said my book was tentatively going to be out on July 4th. I've been working diligently, to say the least, to get it out. Right now, I'm looking at 600,000 words, okay? This is not just going to be a book. It is a massive omnibus. It's going to be all of my content, all the quality content I put out over the years, workouts, articles, bulking systems. It's going to be everything. So those of you can still pre-order it. You can go over to my website and search. My website is superlivingtoday.com. I'm not trying to pressure anybody to pre-order it, but I'm going to tell you something. The price is going to go up, and I'm going to explain why. Not for those that pre-order it. If you pre-order it, you're going to get a really good deal. Superlivingtoday.com. You can go over there now and pre-order it by searching Omnibus, OMNIBUS, okay? You can go over to my website and pre-order it, Omnibus. Here's the thing. I didn't know what to expect word-wise when I was putting together my book. My goal was to put out my life's work, okay? My goal was to put out all my workout systems, all my important teaching, tutorials, and tips, everything in one big, massive thing. Right. And when you initially start out, you're like, it's just going to be a book. Well, it's going to be close to probably 700,000 words. Okay. To put that in perspective, the average novel is about 70 to 100,000 words. Okay. So you're looking at, it's going to be 8 to 10 books. So we're talking physical books. It's going to be, an omnibus. It's going to be a compendium of this is condensed, all the good information, right? Not tossing out all the crap information. I've been doing this for a long time. So for those of you guys that are just interested in the digital and not buying all those bulky books, you can pre-order it at my website, superlivingtoday.com, until it gets released for only $69.99. Because of the vast amount of information, because it's going to be the equivalent of 8 to 10 books, it is going to go up once the pre-order is done. So the pre-order is an opportunity to save some money. And yes, I know this is expensive. It is my life's work. I can't put it out there for $9.99. Each book will be available for individual sale, so you don't have to buy all of them digitally. If you just want to buy the workouts book, or you want to buy the squats and deadlifts book, or you want to buy the bench press book, you can buy each of them individually. We're talking digitally. About 7 to 10 days after the digital books are out, I will have the printed books out. Why am I waiting? Well, because I have to format them specially for print. I have to get the approval from the printer, and those will be available as individuals, right? You can purchase the individual books or the complete 8 to 10 book series. Why do I keep saying 8 to 10? I don't know how I'm going to structure them yet. I don't know how it's going to shake out. I'm just finishing up compiling the content. There's a few minor things I need to do, and I'm looking at having that out on Monday. But there's going to be a lot of information for those of you interested. The bench press information right now is at 50,000 words. It's just insane. So anyway, let's get on to things, guys. Enough about that. Just watch for that this weekend, come Monday, whatever. Paul, good morning, Team Massive. Those of you unfamiliar, we have a community at teammassiveiron.com. I'd love for you to join. There is a small gatekeeping fee, but this keeps out all the riffraff and chaos. Barbell Beauty was a member of the month at Team Massive this month. Thanks for tuning in. Stein, how's it going? Yvonne from Team Massive, Joe B from Team Massive, one of my clients, and Big Justin Jones. Good morning, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. All right. Christos, a client of mine. Good morning. Let's nail the day. Can't wait for the omnibus. I can't wait either. I have been absolutely giving everything I can to getting this out. And I didn't expect it to be this huge, but again, this is my life's work. I want to have all of my information available. For better or for worse, this is what I've been doing for my career. And this stuff is important to me. It's important to me to get it out. And I hope it has some value for you guys. Shelly, a client of mine from Team Massive. Good morning. Big Shelly here. Sorry, Shelly. What's the highest calories you've had a female client on? 2,400. I had a female client that was doing Strong Woman, and she was she had a fair amount of muscle mass, and she was pretty active. So she was able to bulk slowly at 2,400. I got diet root beer right now, in case anybody's keeping score. I had 2 Purple Monsters, but I finished them early. How to break a lift plateau. I've been doing Arnold's at 50s for nearly a year. The first thing I would probably do right now is go to DDP, Dynamic Double Progression. Do the first set at 55s and then do the next 2s at 50s, okay? First off, you got to understand you're pretty strong. I only do mine at 70s or 75s, so progress is going to be slow. I want you to focus on a couple things. I want you to focus on getting everything you can out of sets, and I want you to focus on maximizing your bulking, your nutrition. And from there, I would take the first set up to 55s, and then the second set's at 50. And when that first set gets to 10 with the 55s, then move the second set up to 55s and kind of go from there. Does that make sense? Been through 3 bulks. At some point, you just might want to take a break from it, but try the DDP. Am I foolish for supersetting overhead press and pull-ups? When I talk about things like this, it tends to irritate some folks. So I don't want to irritate you guys, and I don't want to sound dogmatic, but I find no value in supersetting opposing muscle groups. It makes no sense to me. Okay, you have shoulders and you have lats, and they are not complementary muscle groups. There's no value in supersetting them. There's not. If you need to save time, that's not the way to do it. Ultimately, here's the thing. There are 100 better ways to structure your training than to superset muscle groups that don't work the same area, it doesn't make any sense. It's not the most efficient or most effective. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's a hill I will die on. We are there to maximize training. And if you're going to superset anything, superset overhead presses and side laterals, superset pull-ups and lat prayers, something that complements, that can increase the intensity of that area rather than doing overheads, being a little bit gassed, and then you jump on and do pull-ups a little bit gassed, a little bit physically fatigued. You're gassed a little bit from a different muscle group. And some will say, well, I rest a little bit, so I'm not as winded before I do pull-ups. Still, why? What's the end goal? There's no value from a hypertrophy standpoint. All you're doing is making the second exercise unnecessarily challenging and not in a good way. So I know there are influencers and YouTubers out there that disagree with me or see things differently, but I don't die on many hills when it comes to training. But this is something I don't believe. There's 1,000 things you can do in the gym. I don't believe this is one of the smart things you can do in the gym. Could it be done efficiently and effectively? Sure, anything could. Do I believe it is something that we should be doing? No. Harris, how you doing? Howdy, Team Massive. Couldn't train this week due to illness. Hope you're feeling better. Is it okay with only one type of meat for a couple months? I mean, our concern is always health and nutrient intake. So we want diversity where we can get it, but we also can't have diversity if we can't afford diversity. So what I would say is try to seek ways to diversify your protein intake, whether it's Greek yogurt, whether it's eggs, whatever it happens to be. You want to diversify where you can. I'm not sure what it's like in your country, and Harris is on Team Massive, so I know he's not in the United States, just for reference. In America, we're able to go to the supermarket and look for sale items, right? Things that might be closer to I can't talk. Might be close to being expired, and we can pick those up. But I would look for that if you could. I understand what you're going through, and I'm certainly, price considerations. I understand that. Just do what you can, if you can, to diversify just for nutrient intake. Fish is super expensive in July, August here, so I skip it. I'll buy them in bulk in September. Chicken prices are high. Yeah, do what you have to do, but try to squeeze in a little bit of diversity if you can. Even if it's a little bit of diversity, I put in a little bit of cheese daily basis. I don't put in a lot, a pinch of cheese on a daily basis. I get in Greek yogurt on a daily basis. I'm trying to get in a little bit of diversity, if that makes sense. Max, best advice for skinny lifters with small appetites. Max, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you with love, okay? And any of you guys that are in this situation that are skinny lifters with small appetites, what I'm about to tell you might sound aggressive. It might sound abrupt. It might sound even rude. But I assure you it comes from a place of love and reality, and it's in your best interest. There is only one way, okay? You don't get different rules because I don't care if you're skinny or fat or whatever. That doesn't matter. Small appetite. There's only one way. There's only one way forward when it comes to lifting. There's only one way forward when it comes to bulking. You don't get an out card because you have a small appetite. The scale needs to move or you're not going to build muscle. That's the way it goes. That's the way it is. Okay? So you either need to do what it takes or not build muscle. Okay? So small appetite. You need to get in your base of protein first and foremost with a little bit of diversity and protein intake. You need to get in whatever protein foods you like, right? I don't care. Ground beef, ground turkey, chicken, sausage for breakfast, Greek yogurt, whatever. Get your protein intake in from real sources if you can. From there, if you can't get in your calories, you need to look for higher calorie foods, and they may not all be healthy. You want to obviously stick with 80-20 or 70-30, the most of your calorie intake from real whole foods. But if you need to eat ice cream, if you need to eat a little bit of Doritos, if you need to add higher calorie natural foods like whole milk, heavy cream, you can add ounce or two of heavy cream to a whey protein shake, adds calories. Avocado, cheese, sour cream, a little bit goes a long way. Okay. I'm not saying you have to add a mound of sour cream, a mound of cheese, a mound of avocado, tons of nuts. You can add a little bit of this, but you have to structure things and you have to analyze what foods you can add. And at the end of the day, if you need to add ice cream, if you need to add a couple slices of pizza dipped in a bucket of ranch, you need to do what you need to do to get the calories going so your bulk is smooth and steady. We're not talking about fat bulks here for anybody that's paying attention. But when it comes to bulking, we're talking about 4 to 5 months, 2.25 pounds per month-ish, the slowest rate, 2 pounds per month. So Max, that's the way it's got to be. There's only one set of rules, and my best advice is you need to plan and you need to be very as meticulous as you can. You need to be very meticulous. You need to add in dirty foods when it makes sense to get your calorie intake up. Omega-3 supplements, important. I guess it depends on what you're eating. Do me and my wife take backup supplements? We take a fish oil gummy simply because I don't like those big fish oil tablets that are the size of a pinky. You can find fish oil gummies on like Amazon, and they're not an arm and a leg. If you like, there's so many fish oil tablets out there, but you need to stick with a reputable brand because there's a lot of really awful supplement companies out there, and I'm not exaggerating, but you need to stick with a really good company, a reputable company. And I do research on Amazon. We use fish oil gummies, just a couple, 2-3 calories, but I'm tired of choking down those big horse tablets when it comes to fish oil. Harris, which option is better on day one after returning from a long fever? 18 sets, but none taken to failure, 12 sets. If you have been off for a while, if it's been more than 10 days since you did a big lift, you need to drop weight about 10% from your previous workout. You could probably also only do 2 sets per exercise, just as a kind of a break-in and a test, because you've been out with a fever, you've been out sick. I would drop weight about 10% and drop a set per exercise. Just see how you're feeling. Okay, we want to make sure your immune system's up to speed and that you're feeling okay. All right, let me get a drink here. Thirsty today. What do we got? Big Joe G. Conventional deads and back squats seem to always lead to lower back pain no matter what. What free weight exercises would be good replacements? Okay, so if you're dealing with lower back pain from back squats and deadlifts, as far as deadlifts, let's address that first. Back exercises you can do pendley rows, you can do dumbbell rows, you can do T-bar rows, you can do lat pull downs, you can do pull-ups, you can do seal rows, you can do chest supporter rows, you can do seated cable rows, you can do machine rows. There's so many back exercises. You can do Meadows rows, so many back exercises. You could also do high handle hex bar, which is still going to give you some back and trap stimulation. If you want to do a variation, you can do block or rack pulls from 3, 4, 5 inches off the ground. Those are more lower back friendly if you want a deadlift variation. Squats. if you don't want the lower back stress from squats, you can do leg press, you can do hack squats, you can do pendulum squats, you can do leverage squats, you can do Smith machine squats, you can do lunges, you can do Bulgarian split squats, you can do leg extensions, you can even do old school sissy squats, plenty of leg exercises. What you want to do is look at like the totality, right? What is the totality? What are all the exercises that I'm beating that area with? And as long as it makes sense in totality, you're in a really, really good place. So let me know if you have any more questions on that. All right. So, Harris. All right. Coach, author, online community, moderator, YouTuber, which thing do you want to be remembered most for? I mean, first off, I'm just a lifting guy. I just started doing this 13 years ago, talking about lifting in my basement. And here I am 2007, 2008, 16 years ago. And I'm here I am in my basement talking about lifting again. I want to be remembered as somebody that cares, somebody that tries to weed away all the nonsense. I would like to be able, for my books and my information, to be around 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now. That would be the highest honor, where people can look back and say, this is some really good information that transcends the generations. That's what I would like to be known for. Have I put out a lot of bad content over the years, a lot of weird content? When you do 3,000 videos and you do 1,000 articles and you do 1 billion social media posts, is there going to be some content that isn't as good as everything else? Obviously, yeah. I mean, sometimes you just do things to entertain yourself, and sometimes you're in a rush, and that's just the way it goes. I'm not a super structured content producer. I just get on here and talk about lifting. I don't want to be remembered as a YouTuber. Communities are part of what I've always done. And being remembered as somebody that cares about people is important. I'm only an author because I'm trying to get out my information. Being a coach is what I love to do. But ultimately, if my information wasn't good, none of this would matter. So I take my information very seriously, and how I try to teach, I'm always trying to refine. So 30, 40, 50 years from now, I'd like my information to still be out there and helping people. Barbell Beauty. Can't wait for the She-Bulk tank. We got that. If you guys need some lifting t-shirts, I want to say I have a ton of apparel at my website, superlivingtoday.com. And I'm not trying to be an apparel company. I say this a lot, but I make a lot of t-shirts for fun. If you need some fun lifting t-shirts, just check out the apparel tab. I got some stuff that I enjoy wearing, et cetera, et cetera. So tired of social media right now. Let me just find where that comment was. I got roasted and toasted for sharing an opinion. Yeah, I mean, that's social media, especially, especially when you're in the lifting world, you can get roasted and toasted just for doing an exercise variation that people don't always understand. And I completely get it. I like doing Instagram generally because I can just put out information, hide. Not really. I don't really pay attention to the information that, the comments and stuff. If anybody wants to hate my information, that's fine. But the one thing I look for is like, are we being respectful, or is somebody coming over and just calling you an idiot? You know what I'm saying? So if somebody wants to come on and call me an idiot, that's not a viable debate or discussion. They have the right to think I'm an idiot, 100%, but it's not, it's when it comes to YouTube comments, somebody comes on and says, "You're an idiot, you're stupid, whatever." I'm like, okay, thank you. I just let those comments go. I do, but the only thing I really respond to is when somebody twists or warps my opinions or my ideas or my beliefs or what I'm trying to teach and represents them as something that they are not. That's when I will take time to correct them. A lot of times on YouTube, you will get these small 5%ers that'll drive by that won't actually watch the video and that'll share opinions. And opinions can confuse people because people might read the comments and say, this person, he said what? He said what? No, I didn't say it. So a lot of times I have to look at the comments to make sure that my opinion is being represented accurately. All right, Harris. Is it possible to take chest movements close to failure? Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about what gives up first. Don't worry. Or chest muscle. All you can do is take the lift to safe failure. Okay? Your front delts are always going to be weak when you start. Your triceps are going to lack a degree of conditioning. But we have to push sets hard. We have to chest sets are chest work in general is very easy to take for maximum safe quality reps. You can reps. You can push bench press for as many quality reps as possible and generally not beat up the body. Same with overhead press. We don't worry about the muscles involved. Those things are going to take care of themselves, right? We don't worry what muscle. It's a compound movement. Bench is a compound movement. If you take your bench press, and I don't know where Harris's is, but I'm saying this as an example. If your bench is 135 by 5, if you take that to 225 by 5, it doesn't matter what muscles you feel. The chest is going to be working. The front delts are going to be working. The triceps are going to be working. We don't have to worry about to what degree because we are attacking the chest with a well-rounded group of exercises. As long as we're intelligent about that, we're going to be absolutely fine. Don't overanalyze. Don't get caught up in the weeds, okay? Just be smart and push for progression. There's no other way. Carlton, a client of mine, good morning from the road. Hope things are well. Hope you had a good 4th. Big Billy Baker, a client of mine. Happy Friday all. May the gains be with you. And Doc from Team Massive. What is a Dimmel deadlift and what are the benefits? A Dimmel deadlift is a deadlift that's a little bit snappier. Generally, you perform them for 20 rep sets. You could drop those down to 15 if that feels tedious. But what you do is it's glutes back, glutes forward, glutes back, glutes forward, glutes back, glutes forward. You move the glutes back until the weight is right below the knee, then you pop the glutes forward. Let me pull up a video of the Dimmels without sound so I can. Sometimes when people are looking to do I got to mute things. Sometimes when people are looking to do a more glutes focused or lower back focused exercise for the hips and for the gluteus maximus, I'll have them try the Dimmel deadlift. Let's see if this gentleman is doing it properly. Basically, it's hips back until weight is right below knee and then hips forward. You do this at a pretty snappy but focused pace. He should be lowering right below the knee, in my opinion, okay? So it's hips back, hips forward. I lower it till it's right below the knee. I'm a little bit more focused during the lowering part. Does that make sense? We'll play that again. I'm slightly more controlled during the lowering, but it's hips back, hips forward, hips back, hips forward, hips back, hips forward. It's glutes. Push it, right? I hope that makes sense. I do control it a little bit more when I'm going down because I want to make sure my lower back stays tight and I don't want to, get all loosey-goosey. So I hope that helps. Big Beefcake, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Eric, the Beard of Redness, how's the book coming? The book is going good. it's do or die time. I'm trying to finish it up by this weekend. So yesterday during the 4th, I put in probably 10 hours on it. I'm really working hard to get it done. Big Jonathan, good morning, Steve and Team Massive. How was your 4th? Working on my book. It was a good day, though. Is it normal when doing chest dips for the first time to have wrist pain? On any pressing exercise or any dip exercise, it can be a normal to have wrist pain because you're trying to hold things into place and there's some steadying action, right? You're trying to stabilize, and that can come with issues. That can stress the tendons and connective tissue and muscles. So yeah, you can have wrist pain. We have to remember that when it comes to lifting, you have the muscles. Sometimes we just think about muscles, but you have the muscles, you have the connective tissue, you have the tendons and ligaments, and you have all kinds of things. And everything strengthens at a different pace, right? So you could get stronger from a muscular standpoint and still have the tendons a little bit weaker. It can be normal. It's not unusual. The one thing I strongly recommend is that you maybe consider getting wrist wraps for stability and for support. Nota, what do you think of a protein-sparing modified fast for fat loss? Basically, from my understanding, this is an aggressive type of fat loss approach where you're eating 800 calories or so, all-ish protein-ish or lean protein-ish, I believe. I don't have anything against aggressive fat loss periods. I don't have anything against it. I will say that I don't want anybody to worry about muscle loss, okay? Because even if you lose a little bit of muscle, and it would be trivial during a fat loss stage, and again, it would be trivial at worst. Muscle memory is a real thing, so you would get it back. So, Fat Chicken in a Barn just popped in and said, did you finish your book? No. I'm 90% of the way done. I'm hoping to have it done by Monday. Beef cake. How come you don't have any massive beefy hats? I'll tell you why. Because when it comes to embroidery, they need specific types of files. And I suck at them, to be honest with you. I wish they would have a better system, but my printer doesn't have a better system. And they require some special file and this and that for embroidered hats, and it drives me nuts. Shane, what's going on? Good morning. How you doing? Doing good, man. Been a long time since we connected. Hope all is well. Do you feel it's a good practice to start off a workout with whatever compound you struggle with the most? As long as you're not rotating that compound in and out based on how you feel on a daily basis. I want a solidified structure to your workout, so that can be fine. Fasted cardio, pros and cons. The con is that it's cardio, right? No real pros. If you like it, you like it. You don't like it, you don't like it. It's a very heated discussion. Could it provide a small, minor benefit? That's the discussion. That's the debate. Just my advice is I don't like to get in the weeds about things. Do cardio. Do some activity for your general health. It doesn't matter if it's fasted or unfasted. Do it when it makes sense for you, right? Take care of your body. Do the form of cardio you enjoy. And it's really as simple as that. Your book has more words in it than War and Peace. That took me 10 weeks to read. You guys are going to be a little bit shocked at how much information is in here. I'm a little bit shocked because I've just been churning out content for so long. I'm not putting everything in, but it's just a lot of information. I want to get it all in there. Jincho, sorry, trying to pronounce it correctly. Zura Jincho. I enjoy training to failure. How much less effective do you think it is compared to your approach? Well, the massive iron approach is as many quality, safe reps as possible, which is fairly. I made a video reasonably on bar speed and what you could push. If you're pushing reps unsafely, then it's not wise. The massive iron approach is about pushing sets deeply but safely. Generally, the only exercises, and there are exercises that break this mold, that you can't push safely are posterior chain movements. If you're pushing them to failure, I was going to say you're an idiot, but I won't say that. I'll just say you're an idiot. And I mean that respectfully because I care. You can't be doing that. It'll tear you up. I don't care how it feels, right? There are two types of exercises. Those you can safely train for max safe quality reps and those that are going to chew you up. Train to failure on rows, all you see is speed slowing down. So does that rep provide any benefit? No. Trivial. Is there any detriment? No. Train to failure on bench. No downside. So the only exercises you really can't train to failure or shouldn't train to failure are posterior chain exercises. In general, there are other ones that might bother you. I don't like to train dumbbell rows to failure because I've gotten up to 220 for 22, 27 reps and my biceps go out before my back. So you have to use common sense. The massive iron way is about common sense and is about pushing sets maximally and safely. If you are outside of that realm and you are pushing sets that aren't safe, then it's obviously less effective. But I just want to make sure the linchpin kind of in this question is the belief that we don't train anything to failure. My video recently about bar speed and what you can train to failure. You can train lifts to failure, but hard training is your goal, not training to failure, right? If you like to do it, that's fine. There's no downside. Just be smart about it so you're not beating up your body. I have my diabetes under control. Can I not have some moderated carbs before working out? You can do whatever you want, man. I mean, you need to figure half of this battle is figuring out what works for you, right? So I have type 2. It depends. When I have really simple carbs, they bother me. They bother my blood sugar, so I can't. You have to figure out what works for you, and that has to be between you and your doctor and common sense. I would never say you can't have carbs. I used to eat potatoes, a little bit of potatoes, 2.5 hours before working out, just to get in some complex carbs. I don't do very well on white sugar carbs, so you can do whatever you want as long as it makes sense for you and as long as it's not treating your health badly. Kelly, how's the new house going? It's going good, man. We've been in here since November of last year, and the first year is rolling along. Have you ever coached anybody famous aside from me, Big Brutus Beefcake? Depends on what you mean by coach. I've worked with people. In the gym, I worked with Paul O'Neill, the Yankees legend. I have helped him and his sons one day on the deadlift. My good friend Mark Frank won season 1 of a reality show, and I help him. I'm coaching him right now. He's one of the top lumberjack athletes in the world. So I work with him. I guess it's all who is famous and who's not. Big Justin Jones. Would it make sense to do rest pause on the third set to get more reps? You could. On the third set of an exercise, you can do drop sets. You could do an intensity superset. You could do rest pause. You can really do whatever you want. It makes a lot of sense on the last set of an exercise to do an intensifier if you want. So you certainly could. Big JJ, what are the lowest reps you would recommend on jam press? Probably 8. That's not a lift you want to do like super low reps on. It's going to end up beating up your elbows, or there's a likelihood it's going to beat up your elbows. So probably 8 would be the lowest I would do on those or recommend on those. MCM 147. Any downside to chest, biceps, back, triceps type of split? No. The only thing you have to do is make sure there's at least a day of rest. You don't want to go into back day having any biceps fatigue. So the best way to structure those is to have at least 2 rest days. Chest, biceps, rest, back, triceps. And you're like, hey, I got 2 days of rest in between. You could do legs in between. You could do chest, biceps, legs, rest, back, triceps, rest, shoulders, whatever. So as long as it's structured properly, absolutely not. Big Justin Jones. Do you eat eggs from pasture-raised chickens or just the conventional ones? I read some information that chickens that are raised on like the feed have a different nutritional profile than chickens that are just roaming around eating bugs or whatever they eat. So I tend to only eat eggs from the free-ranging, roaming chickens that can eat whatever they want to eat, because I believe that the nutritional profile is going to be a little bit better. Do I eat enough eggs every week where it's going to cost me a fortune? No. Is this one of the things that I make a concession for in life? Yeah. I'm not going to be super crazy on everything. But when it comes to eating your meat and your eggs, if you can afford it, and we can't always afford it, you want them to be able to eat naturally and not be force-fed one food type. If we were force-fed one food type, I think it would go without saying that it probably would impact our health. I'm no nutritionist. I'm not trying to play one on TV. But I think being able to eat naturally insanely is going to be a little bit better for the meat source that we're eating. So Big Brown Eagle running a modified all-pro beginner routine. Okay. I have no idea what that is. Taxing labor job, full body 3 days a week. Okay. That sounds like my massive mass, 6 total sets. From a recovery standpoint, I'm not sure what you mean by the percentages. I'm not sure what the percentages mean in this context. Are you working with percentages of 1 rep max, et cetera? I'd have to know more. And I'm not being dismissive, but I have no idea what that means in context. Sam, when bench pressing, should the bar touch on the nipple? No, naturally. Don't worry about up, down, nipple, whatever. Everybody's different. We got different torso lengths. Your nipple's going to be a different distance from your chin, etc. You got different arm lengths, torso lengths. Anybody that gives you an arbitrary standard, you have to drop the bar to your nipple, like they're oversimplifying things. You want to just naturally control the weight down to a place where it feels good for you. That's all you have to worry about. All you have to worry about. If anybody gives you an arbitrary, it has to be an inch below the nipple. It has to be right on the nipple. Whatever, they don't understand that everybody has different torso lengths and different arm lengths and different leverage points and so on and so forth. And they're being a knucklehead, putting it politely. Do you think 3 days of full body, 10 to 12 sets per body part is great for natural lifters? Per body part, that would be per week. If you are looking at weekly volume, because that's the way that we want to look at things in the when it comes to lifting. Then weekly volume, 10 to 12 sets per major body part, chest, back, delts, and quads. And then whatever you want to do for your legs and your hamstrings and your arms, you can do. But if we're talking major body parts, absolutely, that's absolutely fine. And throw out the natural lifter part, because no matter who we are, we have to adjust things based on how it's feeling for us, right? So, that's what we call in the Massive Iron World evolving training based on needs. Set aside the natural part of things, and we're just going to focus on what works for us, what we need to adjust. All right, guys, we have about 15 questions left. I just want to encourage you guys to get up your questions now. Get in the queue, get ahead of schedule. Nobody wants to work on a Friday, so if you have some random information that's been floating around your cranium, you need to get out. You just got a general question, please toss it up. Richard, greetings. I have not trained for 2 months due to hip tendonitis. To start training again, do you recommend? No, I have no, unless you've been advised medically not to touch weights. There's no reason to do calisthenics. Get back into resistance training. Just go super light, super moderate. We don't want to, try to go full speed like we did before. When I am off for a couple of months for whatever reason, I start with a minimal amount of weight and then slowly creep back up. I am Turbo Ben. Hey, Steve, will physical copies of your book be available? Yes, physical copies will be available. I don't know of the shipping costs. When it comes to t-shirts, I am able to ship out of London, so those go really quick and they're inexpensive. Shipping costs out of the UK to the UK, you can ship anywhere off my website, and my website is not set up where it's trying to gank you and get all your money for shipping, internationally. So it'll be reasonable. And if it's not, message me. We'll figure out a way to make it reasonable. Mr. Question Mark. Hey, Steve, how do you combine lifting and running? I think if you're starting out, for me, I came to ultra running late in lifting, meaning about age 50. So I was lifting for 32 years before I came to ultra running. So my body was just conditioned to lifting. I think if you're new to running, you're probably best lifting every other day, okay, and having a rest day off, and then trying to run 2 days a week normally during the week, and then kind of Saturday, maybe a longer-ish run. I'm not saying your longer-ish run, it needs to be 2 hours. You might run, say, 20 to 30 minutes twice during the week just to break in. And on the weekends, you might go out and just run as long as you feel like it. 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever. That's what I like to do, and I think that would be a good way to initially combine that. 40, I'd just like to say Steve is a great coach. Thank you, sir. And if you need guidance, don't be afraid to contact him. Glad I did. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Darius Darden, big, juicy chesticles. Big, juicy chesticles. Gird up your big, juicy testicles. Fat Chick in a Barn. Did you finish your book? No. I've been working. I put a general ETA on the release because there's so much information. I was trying to force myself to get it done by July 4th. I'm a little bit behind. I'll be working on it today, tomorrow, Sunday. We're hoping to have it out, the digital copy, on Monday. Once the digital copy is out, then I have to format things for print, which is slightly more trickier, but not super complex. And print will probably be out by mid-July. Ice Cold Fusion version 2.0A. Thoughts on including variations of the Olympic lifts? They're fine. They're not the best hypertrophy movements. Somebody's going to club me for that, but do what you like to do, right? Kettlebells, those club things that you swing around, whatever you like to do. Do the things you like to do. Just get your basic hypertrophy in. Some of the variations can have benefits when it comes to hypertrophy. There's nothing wrong with doing hang cleans or power cleans or snatches. I would probably do them as a warm-up before deadlifts or right after deadlifts. Samuel Morales Jr. I find that training with free weights eventually leads to pain in my elbows. I switched to heavy resistance bands. Well, first off, I'm just saying this because I care. Exercise is exercise. So it's always good to get in some form of exercise. Bands are not going to, and calisthenics are going to be very difficult to pack on any amount of muscle mass. Some people will say, hey, there's some calisthenic guys that look great. That's true. They spent their whole life doing this. They do advanced movements. And unless you can do what they do, you're not going to look like they look, right? Doesn't mean they can't have value. I like calisthenic work. I like body weight work. I'm certainly a newbie in every sense. I like doing pushbacks. I like doing push-ups. I like doing pause jump squats, the very minimum, of moving my body through space just for general conditioning. If you have exercises that give you pain in your elbows, then the first thing we need to do is remove those exercises. If it is the inside of your elbow, that's generally elbow tendonitis, and that's a wholly different issue. So I would need to know more. I'm still in my intermediate phase, and I found my muscle weaknesses. Well, I need to specialize to make a weak point catch up. That is the question, my friend. The answer, I would say, is there's no downside to doing a specialization phase. If you have found that there's a weak area or an area that you'd like to improve, then I would consider doing a minor specialization phase that could last 6 to 8 months, where you're not putting a lot of extra volume on that area. You're maybe adding an extra exercise or two per week, but you're not killing the rest of the volume on everything else. That's probably what I would consider first, if that makes sense. I mean, we're not training for the bodybuilding stage. So it all depends on how you want it, right? How bad you want to bring up that area. I have areas that are weak that I don't overly obsess about. My hamstrings, not my best body part. Do I go at night, cry about it, and want to do a specialization phase? Nah. My biceps suck. Do I cry about it and want to do a specialization phase? Nah. It depends on how bad you want it. Big Mike House. Good morning, Team Massive. Finally done cutting. That's a good thing to read. Time to eat and lift harder than ever. Get it. How many weeks of maintenance calories do you recommend? None. None. Let's get to growing, my man. Once you are done with cutting, there's no reason to spin our wheels in maintenance land. When you're in maintenance land, all you're doing is rolling around in the land of no gains. After you're done with the cut, you want to kind of go where you think maintenance level is for about 5 days. Just to see if you're just allow things to regulate. And then we start to dial in our bulking calories from there. DM Cook, 81. On the 5, 10, 10, 20 bench protocol, on the 20 rep set, should those reps be performed straight? No, you can. For those of you guys that aren't familiar, this is my most popular bench press protocol. You take the same weight and you do 4 sets, 5 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps. In the final set, you try to do 20 reps. When you get 20 reps, you add 5 pounds. Sounds like a lot of volume. Yes, it is, but it's really good for driving the bench press up 20, 30, even 40 pounds over a 3 to 6 month period of time. When you get to those last reps, it's okay to kind of pause for a couple seconds, catch your breath, and then descend. It's okay. We are about hard sets. We're not worried if we take a little breaky. We're just trying to get there, and we are trying to push forward and get those last few reps. we're trying to gird up those big, juicy testicles or those big, juicy chesticles, and we're trying to get the work done, right? So if you have to let it rest, the bar rest up here for a couple of seconds, you catch your breath, you slap yourself, and like it's not going to add that many reps to the thing. It just might allow you to get in that one final rep. Ice Cold Tristan 2.0 version A. Is it good to do push presses with slow negatives after going till failure on the last set of standing overhead presses? It's not going to increase injury risk. One of the methods I've been experimenting with lately on some clients is we do normal, strict military presses. And then when we get towards fatigue or failure, we can do push presses just to get the weight up. I wouldn't overly focus, don't overly slow the negative to the point where you're inducing shoulder, unwanted or negative shoulder stress. But yeah, you can do that. Thank you for the live. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Big Joshua Peak. If I do an asynchronous split, 4 to 5 on, 1 day off, would volume be based on the split and not the week? You have to kind of look at it. First off, you have to look at it, where would it be over the course of a month, right? And then you have to slice that down into a split where it might fall weekly. But all that complication aside, as long as it's working for you, as long as you're recovering and you like doing it, you're fine. It's going to be a reasonable amount of volume because you're doing 4 on, 1 off or 5 on, 1 off. It's going to be a reasonable volume inherently, right? Unless you're doing 4-hour workouts each day. It'll inherently be a reasonable volume. And from that lane that you are in, you can adjust based on, what you need. Chris, with the off topic, love it. What's your score for your best game of bowling? I'll give you my bowling story. Bowling is something that frustrates me. I'm not somebody that has a lot of experience bowling. I've probably bowled 30 games in my life. I'm not an expert, but I'm very competitive. So when I do things like bowling, I naturally want to figure it out, right? I want to figure out how to be better, I want to figure out how to improve. But no matter what I do, my brain is always trying to find out how to progressively improve on what I'm doing. So bowling has always eluded me, and I've always been like the 90 to 110 score guy consistently. But there was one game where I was bowling with my daughters, where I started off with 6 straight strikes. Okay. And I remember this isn't BS. It's the only good game I ever had. I started off with 6 straight strikes. And in my brain, I'm thinking, I have this figured out. I unlocked the magic key. I figured out how to bowl. And from now on, things are going to be pretty improved, right? So what happened on the last 4 frames? Back to Crapsville. Just a disaster, a fabulous disaster, and an absolute disaster. And the game after that was a disaster, back down to like 102 score. I don't remember what my score was. It was 6 strikes and then a disaster, 180 something maybe. Whatever it happens to be, 190, 200, I don't know. You tell me. All I remember is it's been a disaster since. Taylor, how's it going, Taylor? Thanks for tuning in. I've lost 35 pounds. Good job. Forget the slow part, man. You're making progress. That's a good, you've had a good year. I lift 3-4 times a week and walk 10K steps a day. That's great. Great stuff. Calories are regulated. Your counter calories, you're in a good place. What more can I do? First off, men have a hard time losing weight above 2,400 calories. Even if your steps are regular, that's the high end of what I consider. That's general advice. I understand that. But the first thing you need to do is dial that down a little bit. Okay. I would set a ceiling at 2,400. We don't want to keep you in a calorie deficit forever. So I would move that to 2,000 to 2,400. On days you need a little bit more, go to 2,400. Days you can get away with a little bit less, go to 2,000. That would be the first thing I would start with because you have plenty of activity. Mr. Question Mark, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Big Mike House, Big Hairy Ugly Dude. The only leg work I want to do is squats. Back squats, front squats, goblet squats, maybe lunges. Any downside to this? Well, you're doing what you love. Check. Is it a reasonable selection of exercises? Yeah, I mean, you got 4 exercises in the mix, maybe 3. There's some variety there. Check. Are you trying to be Mr. Olympia? No. Check. Are you trying to grow big legs, as big as possible? I don't know. If you are, I would turn the maybe on lunges into always, and then put the goblet squats to maybe, because let's be honest, the goblet squats aren't going to give you as much value. You know, I mean, I can get a 100-pound dumbbell in a place and do goblet squats, and it's just not as challenging as any of the other leg exercises. So, Fat Chicken Barn, what are your thoughts on chest supported rows? Would they be a valuable addition? They're not a bad choice, and a lot of my clients do them. They're certainly a solid choice. They have to be put in the program where it makes sense. A lot of my clients, we might do them every other day, or every other workout. You might do them weekly, as long as the big picture makes sense. They can be a good exercise. They're not an exercise you can use a ton of momentum and power with, but you can get a really good elbow drive and feel those, the back working. Big Mike House, thanks for all you do. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm eating 1,700, 1,800 after my cut. Where should I put my calories up? After my cut. If that's on maintenance, I'd be very conservative and probably try 2. You're very active in general, especially with your walking lately. So I don't think there's any downside. Do you have specifically bodybuilding programs? I have tons of programs. Everything here is aimed at muscle building using progressive overload. So the power muscle burn, the massive mass, the power muscle block, tons of hypertrophy programs. Check out my book, The Workout Collection, on my website, Super Living Today. And I'm not trying to do a commercial, but if you want a good collection of exercises, the Workout Collection has 354 pages of workouts. There's also a course over there called the Power Muscle Block, Power Muscle Burn course, which is what I used to build muscle my first 3 years. Iggy, I hit a 225 bench. Congrats, man. That's wonderful. I got about 5 questions left, guys. So if you guys have any questions, get them in now. If not, I will be hopping off for the day. So last call. Simon, thanks, Simon. Appreciate you tuning in. What is the best possible way to program 20 rep squats in your opinion? I have a couple videos on this channel about 20 rep squats. So if anybody's interested in more information, you can head over to the main page and search 20 rep squats. Some of the ways I like to do them is I don't like to push with the same weight every week. I find that to be tedious. So every other week, you could do the same weight, but deload to 15 reps and then come back feeling a little bit more fresh. So 20 reps with one weight, 15 reps with that weight the next week. And then the next week, you could maybe move up 5 pounds in weight. You can also do the 10% deload every other week. I find for sustainability with them that the old school just had 5 pounds every week is kind of like, nah, I'm good. That's way too intense. So I like cycling AB weeks where on the B week you either downgrade to 15 reps or you downgrade weight 10%. Then when you come back the next week, you're a little bit more motivated and fresh. Scott, have you had clients switch to eating keto and a surplus for bulking? I have clients that do all kinds of eating profiles. I have at least 3 carnivore clients right now. And I guess you can call that keto because they're only eating meat. I don't tell somebody how to eat. That's not my business as long as they are bulking and weight gain and doing the program. I don't care. Is there some information out there that carbohydrates might be better when you are running a bulk and for muscle building? There are some voices out there that trumpet that, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But if my clients are experiencing good quality results using the eating system they want, why would I change things, right? If somebody wants to eat, and I don't focus on keto because at that point, it's basically carnivore with trace, very low glycemic, veggie quality. Anybody that makes a switch is going to have probably a challenging 4 to 6 weeks, right? But in the long run, the guys that I have on eating that lifestyle are doing fine. Anytime you switch kind of your eating profile, you might run into a period of adaptation. When I was 346 pounds and switched to only animal and plant-based, I felt like I was on fire all the time. And was there a break-in period? Yeah, absolutely. Tips for going from 225 to 315. I got tons and tons of bench press tips on this channel. I would just search bench and you can spend days digesting them. The biggest thing, number one, is to be consistent. You got to be consistent with your training. Number two, to work in some bench variations, bench press, dumbbell bench press, maybe a plate loaded chest press, maybe a guillotine press, maybe a Larson press. Have some variations and try the 5, 10, 10, 20 program. Number three, nail your nutrition. You will only maximize. Somebody will always say, well, so-and-so brought their bench up at 165 to 315 by never increasing their body weight. So-and-so was lucky and probably genetically gifted. Just because I hate the argument so-and-so did it, therefore I'm going to do it like so-and-so. Michael Jordan did it, therefore I'm going to. No, it doesn't work like that. Everybody is different. You need to be willing to play your game and not the game of some genetically superior individuals. So you need to nail your nutrition. You need to nail your bulks more than anything else. Is 5, 10, 10, 20 good for overhead? I've not really had anybody run that specifically. I've had some guys do 5, 10, 10, 15 or 4, 8, 8, 12. So I've never had anybody specifically do the 5, 10, 10, 20 for overhead for an extended period of time. They certainly could. I'd like to see what happens. There'd be no downside. All right, last question, guys. Last call. Get them in now. Would your ultra grip width on an incline versus flat? Not generally, I would not. It depends on the shoulder stress and how deep you're taking them. I would start with your bench press width, and if it feels unusual, I'd pull it in an inch. I am Turbo Ben. Could you please expound on your programming recommendations for those of us in physically taxing jobs? I was at my strongest when I was a machinist. So the biggest thing is to make adaptations to your training based on how you feel. It's hard to give out blanket statements. Number one, you need to monitor your food intake. you need to make sure you're being consistent with your food intake, and you need to make sure you're covering. There's no blankets, reduce X amount of volume, but you want to adjust things based on how you're feeling. And I'm not trying to shortchange your question, but you're probably better off training every other day in the gym, so you have an off day to recover, and just nailing your food intake and then dialing things in from there. Troy, ever wonder where you'd be if you hadn't pursued powerlifting and continued as a bodybuilder? I don't know. I mean, bodybuilding is where my passion always is. When I'm down here training, I'm not thinking about powerlifting. I had a spell while I was really enamored with powerlifting. But even when I had my eyeball on the over 50 world record, I was doing it my way, bodybuilding, power building style. So, I don't know. Life is what life is, right? And there's been so many twists and turns in my life outside of the gym that it's really, really hard to say, my friend. Thanks for helping out. We appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to help. Paladin, how's it going? Happy Friday. Ice Cold 2.0. When bulking, should the intake of carbs be higher than fats and proteins? That would be very arbitrary. And let me explain. First off, you want to have, when bulking, you probably want to start with about 25% of your calories for fat, and that's a reasonable starting point. If you're having a hard time getting in your calories, bump that up a little bit. You could bump that down a little bit if you don't like eating fatty foods, as long as you're getting your calories in. But we need at least 20% of our calories from fats, for organs, for central nervous system, for brain health, for skin health, all that kind of good stuff. From there, you need to get in your protein intake. 150 grams a day is bottom red line for men, probably 100, 110 bottom red line for women. 170 to 180 is a better choice for men, 110, 120 for women. And you can eat more than that, up to 220, 240 for men if you like eating protein, and women up to 150, 170 if you like eating protein. And then from there, you kind of fill in the gaps with carbs. Carbs are easier. Carbs and fats, are going to be a little bit easier to get in. You'll have a little bit more flexibility when bulking. So I hope that helps. So Barbell Beauty, thanks for everything you do. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to stay on just for a minute to see if any of you have any more questions. Please watch for my book. Follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. We're going to be releasing a lot of good quality information. If you subscribe to this channel, please hit the notification bell. It's hard enough getting YouTube to constantly notify people. In this complex system, they have the subscribe button, which doesn't inherently notify you. So I'm not going to be one of those weirdos that's going to constantly be beating the drum to hit the notification bell. But if you like the content, do so. All right, guys, that is it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Let's finish July strong, and I'll talk to you guys later.
You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.